you guys are enjoying the holiday. So I'm going to try not to keep you longer than we have to. But I want to talk about biases today and how biases really do affect things in a negative way. And when we don't come from a place with an open mind and we make judgments, how that really affects us. I've noticed in our society lately, just a few different things that I've experienced, that there's a lot of people who allow biases to cloud their judgment. And over the last couple of years, I this is something I talk a lot about, but it's something that's really become very obvious to me because of how much my family was judged over the last couple of years. Um, when my husband got really sick, he didn't want anybody to know, and he really wanted to keep it pretty quiet. So we did. And we just kind of disappeared. So there was a lot of judgment that came our way over things like the fact that we weren't attending everything we used to. People said we changed. People really just judged us in many, many ways. And it's funny because they always came up with some kind of story. They always came up with some way to judge us and some narrative that they made up on the reason why we just kind of ducked out of life. Um, uh, some other things too. As my husband's full time nurse, it got really hard. It got really, really hard on me to keep up with life. I was really just struggling to get things done, to show up. And honestly, even after he died over this last year, I've been judged through this company, through the work I do with childcare business professionals, and things that I've had to let go of in the past. And it really just has jumped out to me on how people form judgments based on their limited information. They see things or they just observe things, and they make up narratives based on what they see, based on their own personal lives and experiences, right? I was talking to somebody the other day who had no idea that my husband died, and they were really just downright rude, to be honest, and judgmental over some decisions that I have made over the last year. Um, I've been as I've talked about this a lot too, but over the years, I work on a lot of committees. I'm really involved in early childhood education. I really want to make sure my voice is heard, but I've come to the point where I just can't do that anymore. In order to really take care of myself, I've had to pull back a little bit. Now, my company still has a face out there where I have my director, my assistant director, they're doing different things to help represent, but I just can't do it so much anymore. There's a portion of my life that I had to look at, and I had to pretty much say, okay, these are the things that are really important for me to keep on doing. I'm going to keep doing this, this, and this, but these things I have to get rid of because I am on a journey of healing right now, and I'm still working through a lot of things and healing over what I went through in the last 4 years. The last 4 years of my life were extremely, extremely difficult. Um, Watching your spouse die is very hard, and there's a lot of life changes I've had to make. I will never be the same person again. And there's a part of me that misses the old, and there's a part of me that loves the new. But it's just one of those things. It's just so necessary. I will never be that person again. And I get a lot of judgment. I get judged a lot over that. And I ran into an old friend that doesn't know me and or doesn't know me recently, right? The recent me in the last 5 years. She didn't even know my husband had died, and automatically just started to go into like this, "Oh, well, look who's here. Look who decided to show up. Made time for us instead of your new company now," right? Very, very judgy, very condescending. And then when she stopped to actually ask, like, "So how are Ronnie and the kids?" And I said, "Well, actually, Ronnie is dead." And I did not sugarcoat it. When I'm in a position like this, I'm not very nice sometimes. I didn't sugarcoat it. I just said, "Actually, Ronnie's dead. He died last year. Thank you for asking." And she just was shocked. "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." Like, "Yes, actually, he's been dying. It took him this journey my family and I have been through. It was almost 5 years long, right?" And she's like, I had no idea. Oh my god!" And I just called her out on it, and I basically just said, "Well, yes, my husband died. That's why I'm not doing all this anymore. That's why I really have to grow my company. That was why." You look at it like I am just doing this because, right? Now, but no, my husband actually is gone. My life had to change. I had no choice. But those judgments come and it's really damaging. And there's some other things I've seen going around that really bothers me where parents in our centers are judged, employees are judged without all the facts. People take bits and pieces of information and they come up with these stories, right? And they form these judgments. And it's really fascinating to me because I've made some new friends during this journey I've been on, right? Because my perspective has completely changed. And I'll be the first to admit I used to be pretty judgmental myself before I guess my eyes were open to the dangers of being judgmental. But I've made some new friends and I've realized some things. And as you evolve and change, you kind of start forming alliances with people who are like you. And you lean into those ways of when you grow, especially as you grow, old relationships will start to fall away because they're so immature still. And as you mature, you need to line yourself up with people who are also higher level, right? And who have that maturity. And one of the things I've learned is that when you start to mature and you start to get to know people who are on that more mature level, there's so much more to them that they don't show, that they, I wouldn't say purposely hide, but they don't care so much about the world around them and the judgment and all of that. So they don't really show you who they really are. And so what I've noticed with those people especially, people tend to judge them harshly because they are so guarded, right? They're not so guarded as they are just they don't care. They don't care to impress you. They don't care what you think. So what ends up happening is people make judgments on those people the most. They really just form opinions and stories. They judge a book by its cover, basically. And they really don't get to know because of their own immaturity, their lack of mental sophistication, honestly. People tend to project themselves onto others, and that is something that has really resonated with me, and I find myself doing it all the time. I have to say, like, I know that if this was happening, I would feel a certain way, right? Or if, they're reacting this way, it would be because this is how I would react if I was in this situation. So in my mind, I start filling in those blanks. It's like, oh, they're probably doing this because, right? And then I put my personal experiences, my personal feelings, and what I've been through in life and how I would react. But the constructs of each one of our brains are very different. Our life experiences are different. Even the hormones running through our brains are different, right? So the way we react to things are not how other people would too. Our experiences do not define everybody. And some people do not put all of them out there. They are not just this open book for you to see and know and who they really are to the core. So people do tend to judge. I am somebody who I don't care. I'm out there. I'm an open book. I really don't care. And what people know about my life, it's just it is what it is, right? But there are other people who they also don't care, but they also don't care to be seen. And those are the people I think that get judged the most. Absolutely. So when I was thinking about this weekend, and then Father's Day yesterday, also really got me thinking. I was thinking about different fathers that I've known in my life, my own husband, and just other fathers. And I realized that even children, they don't know a lot of times who their parents really are, right? Um, it's funny with doing some work with my life coach and therapist. I've been talking a lot about how compartmentalized life can be. And she was telling me that I'm very good at compartmentalizing my life, right? Where I have all these little compartments and I keep them very neatly in order and I don't let one overlap another, which is very professional in the professional world. I don't want this company to influence this company. I don't want my children to influence my company. I don't want my company to influence my children, right? So I keep things very nice and neat into compartments, but almost to a point where it's a little bit too nice and neat, right? So what ends up happening because of my little compartments that I live in is nobody really knows all of me, right? And it got me thinking about that in terms of Father's Day yesterday, where parents, moms, dads were all in the same boat that your children see who you are as mom. They see you day to day. They see us working and doing all our things, but they don't see us in our work environments. They don't see those interactions. They don't see that part of you for the most part, unless you work from home, right? They don't see all of you. They don't see who you show up as a friend. They don't see who you show up as even as a parent because they're in it. Now when they grow up, if you could look back on your childhood, you can think of things with your mom and realize like, wow, when I was a kid, I never realized that. But this is happening with us for everybody all the time and we are doing this to people all the time, right? So when you are quick to judge and you look at somebody, whether it's on your staff, a parent, or even the cashier at Walmart who's really having a bad day, I want you to really look at them and wonder like, what depth are you missing? I went this weekend I was for a hike and I sat by a beautiful pond and I looked out on that pond and I thought to myself, it's interesting because first of all, it is deceptively deep, right? It looks like you could just walk across it but it is deceptively deep. And I realized when you look at the surface, here you have this beautiful pond. And on the surface, it looks calm and still. But underneath the surface, there's a whole ecosystem down there that you don't even know exists, right? I don't even know if there's fish in that pond, if there's frogs, if there's tadpole. What kind of vegetation is growing underneath there? Is it a solid lake bed style, or is it like one of those mushy styles where you just sink in and it takes your shoes if you try to walk in it, right? There's so much that we don't see. There's so much that we don't see. If you've ever been scuba diving or snorkeling, you look out into the ocean, you see those gorgeous waves, and then you look under the waves, and there's so much beauty. And it is amazing when you look beyond the surface, right? But the other side can be said as well. As I was driving home, I had to go into California this weekend. And as I was thinking about all of this, I looked into the tree line in the forest and I was thinking after painting that picture of the beauty of the pond, right? And thinking about the ocean and how gorgeous it really is. And how people really just look at a person, they judge a book by its cover, and they assume they know because of how that person speaks, how they dress, how they act, how they talk. They make assumptions on who that person is, right? Same thing like the pond, right? You don't know what's underneath the cover. You don't know what's under that water. But then I was thinking the same can be said on the opposite end. I was looking in the tree line knowing full well that like especially in the area we're in, we have a huge coyote problem. Right? A huge coyote problem to the point that there's been times where the coyotes are actually challenging humans. Like same thing goes for the tree line. If I walk into that tree line, I don't know what's out there to attack me. There could be a bear that I get attacked by, right? We've got lots of bears in the forest around us. There could be a pack of coyotes. There could be wolves. We don't know again. And we so misjudge people based on what we think we observe. We take a look at them. We see somebody who looks polished. They look well-to-do, and we assume like, "Oh, they must be amazing. They must be just this awesome person," right? Because of they are very well spoken. They, say all the right things. They're very, very charming. And then you come to find out later that they aren't the person everybody thought. They just put on a very good show. They wore some very good masks, right? And it really just really resonated with me how we as a society, more often than not, place judgments on people and we misjudge them because we have our beliefs that we were raised with, that we acquired over time on our own personal experiences, and we project those beliefs onto people, and we never even really get to know them. We never even really get to know who they are. When I was growing up as a child, um, my home life was not the best, but I came from a wealthy family. So everybody thought it was wonderful. They thought it was wonderful because we were rich. My parents looked like they were very loving in public. They knew how to play the part very, very well. But behind closed doors, it was like living with, I don't know, it's like a hurricane hitting the shore, right? But when we were in public, we were very well trained to make sure we looked like the perfect family. You don't know. We don't always know who a person is. We don't always know what a family structure is. So I think today being Juneteenth is, or well, the day representing Juneteenth is actually a very good day to bring this topic to light as well. Because I think as a society, we really need to stop judging. We need to start looking at everybody with curiosity, just coming from a place of curiosity instead of like, oh, I know people like that, right? I know people like that. They are. And then just coming up with these preconceived notions, right? Give a person a chance first on both ends. I would say we should also come from a place of caution as well. I've known some of the most charming people who are actually like diagnosed narcissists and sociopaths. If you know anything about like a psychopath, narcissist, or sociopath, true like diagnosed people with these issues, not our societal catchphrases that we hear so much today. These are some of the most charming people in the world. They are extremely charming, right? And they are very like likable and people love them. It's actually a ploy that they put on to draw you in. And then you find out, oh my gosh, this is actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. And most of the time, people find out too late. So it's fascinating to me observing people, how people judge these books by their covers, and they always look at those polished, charming people that take them for everything, right? Because they looked so nice, they spoke so nice, they acted so nice. But then other people who just might be rough around the edges are treated completely differently because of how they look, how they speak, right? And nobody really takes the time to just question their own judgments. It's I guess at this point in my life, it's just kind of come full circle from my childhood, knowing that my mom specifically taught us to paint a picture, that my dad and mom were brilliant, brilliant at making people believe we were something we were not. Right. And now, just the way I've been treated over the last 3 years, specifically, and even over the last year by people who have no clue what I've been to, what I've been through. It's really come full circle for me, I think, as a child, seeing that show being put on intentionally to now as an adult where I don't care I just don't have the energy to put on a show anymore. And I just have to just lean in. I can't be it all anymore. And getting the judgment from different areas, right? Where everybody respecting so much the fake. of my childhood and everybody putting my family on this amazing pedestal as the ideal family, right? Who was 100% fake. It was all a facade that we were trained into. To now living a real life and receiving judgment. And it's something I'm seeing a lot of. I think it's something I'm just really noticing now. And, there's that old, I can't even remember what it's called, but there's actually a psychological term for it is that things are all around you, but until it's really like you buy a white car and then you notice how many white cars are on the street and you never noticed that before. Now that I'm in it, I think I see it a lot more. My eyes are a lot more open to it. I'm a lot more sensitive to it. But it's something I really want to caution you with because you're only hurting yourself. You only hurt yourself when you're judgmental. You're only hurting the children that need you and those that really, the people who really need you. You're really just hurting them and you. So I just challenge you to start questioning your reality. Start really observing your thoughts and your judgment and asking yourself, do I really, really have an accurate view of what's happening here? And it's really interesting how you will level up as a person altogether when you just start questioning your reality. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I really hope you take this to heart. And I really do hope that you start questioning your own reality. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.